Who killed Christ? Satan's injustice as a murderer, or God's justice or execution, or something else?
That question shocks me. But it's very clear. Jesus spoke and said, my God, why are you killing me and torturing me? Isn't that what he said? He did not say that. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? God did not lay a hand on his son at the cross. Well, why did he forsake him? He must have been upset with him. He must have been really mad at him, right? Do you think God was upset with his son? God was in the Son, reconciling the world. Well, then why did God forsake him? Why did God withdraw? Why did Christ experience the presence of his Father leaving him? Why? Was it necessary for Christ to die to achieve the victory for us? And what was necessary to be achieved? Two things. One, to reveal the truth that destroys lies and wins trust. But two, he had to destroy the infection of fear and selfishness from which we were born and restore the law of love back into the humanity that he assumed upon himself. The only way to do that is to be faced with a temptation to save self. He experienced temptation in every way just like we are. And we are tempted by our own evil desires, it says in James chapter 1. And yet, when he had those temptations, to save self, he overcame with love. And he said, no one can take my life. I will give it freely. I will surrender. He didn't commit suicide. He just refused to use power to stop what they were doing to him, from taking his life from him. Now, why again did the Father have to withdraw and abandon? Do you remember when Lazarus was sick and Jesus stayed away? There's a reason Jesus stayed away. Do you remember the reason he didn't go immediately? If he would have gone immediately, Lazarus would have been healed. He wouldn't have died. He's the source of life. So he had to stay away for Lazarus to pass into that first death so that Jesus could then give the crowning manifestation that he is the resurrection and the life, and he restored him a powerful message to the world. Well, Jesus could not fulfill his mission. He couldn't complete what he was doing if God didn't let go. He's the source of life. God didn't kill him. God simply surrendered him to achieve the mission he chose. But he was killed by evil men and satanic forces. That's who killed him. God just stepped back and let it happen because it was in the Godhead's plan for him to achieve the outcome of destroying the infection of fear and self-centeredness, the carnal nature, and restore mankind. And this is why he rose on the third day. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving or bringing life to the soul. And Christ perfectly restored God's design law into the humanity that he lived out, and thus he rose again. And this is why he could predict, I'm going to die, and I'm going to rise again on the third day. Why? I don't have my pen on me. Wish I had a pen. Oh, I got this. If I let go of this, how many of you can predict what will happen? Only 2 of you. Okay? How can you predict this? Do you have the gift of prophecy? This is a future event. You can predict it because you know the law. And when you know the law, you can predict. Christ knew that God's law is the law of life, and he knew when he perfectly restored it into his humanity by living out a perfect, righteous life, that he would destroy the infection that he assumed upon himself that he never participated in, and he would rise again in a humanity perfected. This is why he was going to rise again. The law of the Lord is perfect. It brings life. It revives. And this is also why you can read other passages or things that say, but he couldn't see through the portals of the tomb. But he predicted over and over because he predicted through his knowledge of God's law what he would do and what he would achieve. That's what he predicted. But he didn't have prophetic vision pull back the historical record and let him see the future. He didn't see that. Does that help?